Alright, in this video we're going to look at the net force calculations worksheet. Now, I'm not going to do all of the problems, but I'm going to walk through how to do different types of problems. So let's take a look at number one. I'm going to make this a little bigger. So anytime we're working with these types of problems, when we do net force, we have four different directions. We've got left and right, up and down. Okay, so when we do these types of problems, we always add up the forces. And any force going to the right will be positive. Any force going to the left will be negative. The signs give you direction. They don't actually mean like you have a negative force, like you're taking force away. The force going up will be positive. The force going down will be negative. So on your page, go ahead and sketch that compass, so to say, so you have that to reference while you're working through some of these problems. Alright, so now let's take a look at number one. So number one, and I'm going to kind of keep this compass handy for the first problem, any force going up is positive, any force going down is negative. So the 5 will be positive, the 3 will be negative. So when I write this out, my net force is going to be positive 5 plus negative 3. Anytime we add a negative number, it's like we're subtracting. So 5 minus 3 is going to give us a total of 2 newtons. That's our answer for number one. Let's go ahead and do number two. Number two, to the right we said was positive, to the left we said was negative. So our net force in this case is going to be positive 8 plus negative 10. So positive 8, negative 10 is going to give us a total of negative 2 newtons. And that negative just tells us the direction. So because it's negative, it's going to the left. If it was positive, it would be going to the right. Okay, we're going to skip number 3. Let's go ahead and look at number 4. Okay, so number 4, both of these forces are going to the right. So this is positive, this is positive. We always add our forces together. So our net in this case is going to be positive 25 plus positive 14. So this will give us a total of 39 newtons. Okay, 5 is similar. 6, we have a couple things going on here. So we always want to start by labeling our forces, or rather assigning a sign to our force. So positive, negative, negative. Okay, so again, we're just adding all these up. So our net is going to be positive 10 plus a negative 5 plus a negative 4. Okay, negative 5 and negative 4 is going to give us negative 9. So if I was simplifying this, this would be positive 10 plus negative 9 for a total of 1 newton. Okay, so even if there's multiple forces involved, everything is fine. Just assign your signs and then simplify. Okay, 7 is similar. 8 is not. 8 is a little different. So we have one force going up and then one force going to the right. The method where we've been assigning signs and then just finding the difference between them works as long as the forces are opposite from each other. So if, oops, not sure what happened. Computer's a little crazy here. So the method we were using before only works if you have forces that are opposite from each other. So if you have one force here, or if you're looking at forces that are going up and down, one force here, okay? Or multiple forces as long as they're opposite from each other. Here, these are not really opposites. We have one going to the right and then we have one going up. So in this situation, we are going to have to use a little bit of a trick from geometry, or maybe it was Algebra 1. This kind of makes a triangle here. Okay, so I'm going to label this side as A, this side as B, and then this kind of dashed line in between, this is going to be side C of our triangle. And what we're actually solving for here is that missing side of our triangle. Okay, so we're going to use what's called the Pythagorean theorem and that is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay? Anytime you have forces where you have a vertical force and you have a horizontal force, in order to solve that problem, you have to use the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so we're going to take our a side. So a in this case is 3. So it's going to be 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. Okay, 3 squared is 9 plus 4 squared is 16 equals c squared. Okay, 9 plus 16 is 25 equals c squared. We want to get c by itself. Okay, so in order to get c by itself, we're going to take the square root. The square root of 25 is just 5, and that'll give us our missing side of c. Okay, so our resultant force, that's what we call it, our resultant force is going to be 5. And when we draw this arrow in, we draw it between the two forces. Okay, so this is going to be 5 newtons. Okay, so our answer is just 5 newtons. Okay, and we could draw that 5 newtons, like I said, between the two forces. Okay, 9 is very similar, same process. 10 is very similar, as is 11, 12, and then when we get down to 13, this looks like a mess. So we have 2 forces going up and 1 force going to the right. Okay, and if you look, 14 and some of the rest of these are very similar. You have a couple different things going on. So what we're going to do first is we are going to simplify so that we just have 1 vertical force and 1 horizontal force. Okay, so we're going to combine these 2 forces. Okay, so if we did 13 and 13, that would give us a total of 26. So our new vertical force is 26 newtons. Okay, and then we still have our 10 here. So this is 10 newtons. Now that we have just 1 vertical and 1 horizontal, now we can use our Pythagorean theorem. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, it doesn't matter which side is a and which side is b. Addition properties allow us to flip these numbers around, but in this case I'm just going to label 26 as a. You could label 10 as a and 26 as b, but like I said, it doesn't matter. Okay, so 26 squared plus 10 squared equals c squared. Okay, I'm not really up on my math here. I can't do 26 squared in my head, so I'm going to use my calculator here. If you're using a graphing calculator such as the TI-84, you just type in 26, and then there is a squared button on the calculator. It's the one that has the X with a little 2 on it, and then enter. So that is 676 plus 100, that's 10 squared, and then c squared. So this gives me, when I simplify, this is going to be 776 equals c squared. And then to get c by itself, I'm going to take the square root. Okay, the square root button is looks like this on the calculator. So on mine I press second, and then that squared button gives me the square root symbol, and then I type in 776, enter. Alright, so we have a decimal here. I'm going to round this to the tenths place, so it'll be 27.9 newtons. That would be my force, and then when I draw this, I'm going to draw it between the forces. Okay, or on the simplified version, it would be between those. So my resultant force is 27.9 newtons. Okay, so I could go ahead and do that for the rest of these. All the rest of the problems on this page follow the similar Pythagorean theorem type solution. So for all of these, you need to simplify first. Okay, so for 18, you would need to simplify the right and then the left. So kind of the same method we did before. So I'd want to combine 21 and 15. Let's just do this one together. So 21 plus 15 gives me, let's see, that's 36. And then we have a negative 16. So 36 plus a negative 16 would give us 20. And since 20 is positive, it's going to be going to the right. So I've got 20 and then 8. Okay, so then from there you should be able to use the Pythagorean theorem. And that should get you through most of the problems on this page. Actually, that should get you through all the rest of the problems on this page.